Arpeggios are to chord voicings as dramatic slow-motion video scenes of coffee preparation are to anybody who's ever had a vlog on YouTube. You simply cannot have one without the other. So today we're rocking the D'Angelico Mini DC, and what we're going to do is going to sound like this. With a bunch of variations. It's all about just kind of making some kind of groovy, sexy track with whatever chords you want. We're going to use a major 7 chord and a minor 7 chord because that's how I roll, right? It's kind of like the French press of chord voicings, if you will. And then we're going to talk about the arpeggios that go with this, all right? So let's look at the chord voicing first. This is going to be a G major 7, right? Just like a regular G, but major 7. Even better, right? It's like adding cashew milk to a latte. Or no, it's adding macadamia nut milk to a latte. That's what I'm talking about. 3E, pointer finger, ring finger, 4D, pinky, 4G, middle finger, 3B, right? So I'm kind of playing this finger style. You can play this however you want. I'm going from here to here, okay? So the G, the 1 chord in the key of G, the 3rd note in the key of G is a B. I'm going to play this B minor 7 or minor 11, whatever your fancy is, right? Minor 7, really it's just the 7th fret, E, D, G, B, okay? So I'm playing a finger style like I said. I'm just kind of focusing on E, D, G, B, E, D, G, B. Play it however you want, but we're going to start matching some kind of arpeggio to go with this to kind of make it a little more interesting to kind of play around with, right? G, B minor 7. And then we're going to do a little fill here, right? Where this fill comes from, I think is going to be kind of like the important part of what I'm trying to get across here. It starts on the octave, the next register of the first chord that we played, right? We're going to do this for both chords, and then you can kind of pick which one you like the sound of more. But we're going to start just by spelling that chord out through single notes. That's why arpeggios are such a great way to learn. We can just take the root note of that chord. Now, the notes that make up a G major 7 are G, B, D, and F sharp. You don't have to remember that. It's always good to know, for sure. But this little shape will spell out all those chords for us, or all those notes in that chord for us, right? So we start with the 5th fret on the D string. I'm going to take my ring finger to the 7th fret and then slide to the 9th fret. It's really easy because you can just follow your inlays. This one has these nice block inlays. Most guitars have some kind of like circle or dot to tell you where the odd numbered frets are. So right there, that 5, 7, 9, that using my ring finger, which using the fingers is going to be important. Using the fingers that I'm using is going to be an important way for me to explain what I'm doing here. Ring finger is going to line your pointer finger up with the 7th fret of the G string, and that right there gives you just a regular G major chord, but more importantly, it gives you just a major chord wherever you are. No matter what note you start on, 2 frets higher, and then back like that is going to spell out in single notes just the major chord that you're using, right? Wherever you start on, whatever note this is, 9th fret, happens to be a B, I know that because I know all the notes. But yeah, just 2 frets higher, 2 frets higher, down and back. It's always going to spell out that chord, right? But that's not it. We got to add that right there. A little flourish. Adding just a sprinkling, a little bit of cinnamon into that latte. Right? The 7th note in there, right here, this is actually going to be the 7th fret on the B string. Straight down from where you were, and then a 1 fret hammer on pull off adds that little flourish. And this is the major 7 of the chord to the octave where we started, and then back to here. So if we were to number this through the major scale, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we'd be going 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8 to 7, back to 5. Doesn't really matter, it just sounds good, right? So it's good to start maybe equating some of these arpeggios with the chord. Here's the chord. I'm thinking of my root note. My bass note's right here. The octave is going to be right here, what you'd play in a normal G major chord where your pinky is, right? I'm just going to hop. And then I'm going to play that little arpeggio. But I'm not going to play it as a straight and forth, adding just that little flourish and then ending back here kind of makes it sound more like a lead thing when it's really just an arpeggio in disguise, right? So G major 7 to B, then there's that back to the G. But maybe we want to focus more on the B minor, right? So let's do the same thing, but let's do it. Here's the B, the octave B is right here. We're gonna do something B minor-ish starting on that other root note to kind of swap in and out, right? So any minor chord, you can do this. This is kind of my favorite minor 7-ish lick arpeggio-based run. We're starting with the root note right here. I'm gonna actually start with my middle finger. I'm gonna slide it a minor third. A minor third is always 3 frets. So if you have a root note and you know there's a minor chord in whatever you're doing, a 3 fret slide will always be appropriate. All right, now the reason I'm doing this, I'm gonna finish this little arpeggio. So I have the root, minor third, the 5th. I just go diagonal with my pointer finger like this. So the frets would be 9 to 12 to 11 G. My middle finger is gonna go to 12 B to get the octave of where we started. Again, this is just a great way to kind of like understand just different fretboard markers, essentially. If any of this is too fast for you, definitely check out the Patreon because I have like a ton of lessons just from the absolute beginner ground up that will help you get to this level super fast. And then if you know anything about the minor scale, you know that there's my root note, there's the octave, the 7th note in the minor scale that makes it a minor 7 is 2 frets back from the octave as compared to when we were in the G, 1 fret. That's one of the differences between the major scale and the minor scale, or a major 7 arpeggio and a minor 7 arpeggio. So we've got, right? Just like that. So again, we can launch this off of the octave of the B right there. I'm using my middle finger, minor third. Pointer finger goes back, middle finger comes back, slides back a step, 2 frets, and then that lines my pointer finger up with a nice 2 fret hammer on from 9 to 11 on the G string. And you can use that on any minor chord. All right, so we've got the G major 7, G, or see how they kind of have like a call and response type vibe? And then you just end where you started, right? All this stuff is totally movable. You can do this over any major 7 chord that you'll find in a key, which is always going to be down the 1st and the 4th degree. We can actually move this to the next major 7 in the key of G. And again, this is just staying in a key. You can move this wherever you want, whatever sounds good to you. There's no rules against it. But the next most common place would probably be this C. The 8th fret is where my bass note is. So now remember, I'm always thinking octave is going to be 2 strings down, 2 frets down. So I can start and do that same riff. So maybe it's a good idea to think of like, all right, well maybe I know that the 3rd fret is a G, the 8th fret is a C, so that's a 5 fret or 2.5 step difference between what's the 1 and the 4 chord. You can think of that as the same thing with this. Here's the 5th fret on the D string is my root note. I'm gonna do that, and then maybe I can jump right to 10. And then I got the same thing with the C. Same thing with maybe like an A minor and a B minor. You can start with the A and then go right to the B. And then start making all these connections and then just like putting them together. And you have yourself a delicious, creamy cold brew with macadamia nut milk. If you haven't tried macadamia nut milk, it's a very hipster thing to do, but I definitely think it's the move if you want to stay super classy. It's in almond milk for a while. Definitely burned myself out on it. I dabble with the coconut milks. I know that you guys are waiting for my my complete thoughts on different types of nut milks and where they're best used. that can probably also be found on my Patreon coming soon if you guys are interested. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. Talk to y'all soon.